Thanks, Ashraf. Zuma calls for the establishment of the African Standby Force and Britain's Cameron on Somalia. That's in the news this hour here on SAfm. I'm Asanda Matsaungyani. President Jacob Zuma has called for the establishment of the African Standby Force to help quell military coups on the continent. The president said this after meeting his Nigerian counterpart, Goodluck Jonathan, in Cape Town. Jonathan is on a state visit to bolster diplomatic and trade relations with South Africa. Zuma says it's crucial that both South Africa and Nigeria lead efforts to maintain peace and stability.
Part of the capacity needed by the AU is the establishment of the African Standby Force for rapid deployment in crisis areas without delays. The need for an intervention brigade has become more crucial in light of the situations of instability in the Central African Republic, the Eastern DRC, and Mali, where decisive intervention is needed.
Speaking off the cuff, President Goodluck Jonathan concurred that both Nigeria and South Africa need to forge strong diplomatic relations to pursue issues of common interest.
Because whether we like it or not, and President Zuma himself said so this morning, if we refuse to cooperate, to move the continent or give direction, we will be considered as failures. And we will not want to be recorded in the Guinness Book of Records as failures.
The Constitutional Court has heard opening statements in the application for leave to appeal a Supreme Court of Appeals judgment by Cape Town businessman Imran Mukaddam. The shopkeeper wants the Concourt to allow for class action to be served on Pioneer Foods, Tiger Consumer Brands and Premier Foods for income lost during the bread price fixing scandal. Noma Bolani reports.
Mukaddam's lawyers told the Concourt that the price fixing reduced the income of distributors by 30 cents. They claim that the discount to stores was cut from R1.05 to 75 cents. The lawyers say their clients couldn't pass on the cost to the consumer for fear that he may lose the customers. The respondents say they would be happy to deal with individual cases by distributors and not a class action. Noma Bolani, SABC News, Constitutional Court.
Trade union SATAU says gender-based violence should come to an end. This is one of the concerns the union has outlined in a memorandum they are to hand over to the Gauteng Police Commissioner. Just over 100 SATAU members in the cleaning, security and metro rail sector are marching to the Police Commissioner's office in Parktown, Johannesburg. SATAU Provincial Secretary Phindile Khadebe.
Currently in South Africa, there is an increase in gender-based violence. And as a trade union that is conscious of gender sensitivity, it could not be correct that we keep quiet and we don't do anything.
Overseas, British Prime Minister David Cameron says it's vital to rebuild Somalia to prevent mass migration and the exports of terrorism. Cameron is co-hosting an international conference on Somalia in London.
The president of Somalia is here, the neighbouring countries are here, the international community is here. I've met recently with the president of Somaliland. I can understand their misgivings about coming to this conference. But in the end, what matters is stabilising and sorting out Somalia. And we've seen huge progress from last year's conference, and I think we'll see further progress at this conference as well.
Recapping the top story, President Jacob Zuma has called for the establishment of the African Standby Force to help quell military coups on the continent.